It's 9 o'clock.
Here we go.
Good morning. Congratulations, everyone. I'm going to call the roll. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes, and you have an echo, Wendy.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues,
Here.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yeah.
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
Here.
Counselor-elect Dennis Tarano,
Here.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
Here.
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Could you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, pursuant to the provisions of Article
Okay.
2, Section 203 of the Town Charter, in accordance with Sections 42-46-2, 42-46-3, and 42-46-6 RIGL, we hereby call a special meeting of the Town Council-elect to unofficially consider, discuss, and act upon the following items of business. All items of business on the agenda will be considered, discussed, and acted upon. The Town Council-elect to unofficially discuss leadership, Town Council appointments, and other matters related thereto. May I have a motion to receive the communication?
Motion to receive the communication.
Second.
I'll poll the Council-elect. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues,
Yes.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Dennis Tarano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Yes.
I want to note that all votes taken at this meeting are non-binding. The same process will be followed Monday, December 7th, 2020, at the inauguration, at which the votes will be binding. The first order of business, I would like to entertain nominations for council president.
Motion to nominate Paul Rodrigues for president.
Motion to nominate Dennis Tarano for council president.
Are there any other nominations?
Yes, there's no one who could provide better leadership for the Middletown Town Council than Robert Sylvia. Aside from his lengthy experience in the position, he understands that the town council represents all of the 16,000 residents of Middletown in all parts of the town. He assesses the mountain of information placed before the town council. He evaluates what he hears on both sides of an issue, and then he develops a position. I have not always agreed with him, but I know he is a man of integrity, most importantly, without self-interest. And his only concern is what is best for the town as a whole. No one is better prepared or more determined to get Middletown moving again. Therefore, I nominate Robert Sylvia for the position of president of the Middletown Town Council.
Are there any other nominations? There being no further nominations, nominations for this position are closed.
Conversation, please.
Okay,
Which I was to understand, I didn't want to interrupt Mrs. Von Villis, but I was to understand that nominations were going to be finished and then there was going to be discussion. So if that has changed, let me know if we're supposed to discuss as we nominate.
you can do it either way.
Okay. I think that I'd rather see all the nominations because that will kick off what the discussion might be. Just throwing that out there to the council. So for those, and Wendy, how many people are dialing in this morning, may I ask?
24.
Okay. So
No,
for those
25.
who, pardon?
25.
And growing. For those who don't know, the procedure for filling the positions we're talking about today is that nominations are done one position at a time. Once the nominations close, discussion can be requested. That's the procedure that I was familiar with. Voting on the nominations is done in the order that nominations are made. And as soon as a nomination receives 4 or more votes, the position's filled and voting stops. And the nominations for the next position starts. Just so everyone has some background, because I know a lot of people have not seen this before. So those who are tuning in, this is an unofficial discussion. Is that true, Wendy? Or informal? How is this being?
This is, all votes are non-binding right now. This is all going to be repeated.
Okay, so I just want to get out in the open that, and no one's arguing with you, Mrs. Vollen-Villis, but it's the seasoned counselors that are nominating Bob Sylvia. And, you know, it was advertised, there's a voting block of the 4, and I'm really talking to them this morning, and Teresa and Barbara, Paul, and Bob too. Everybody works hard. Nobody's taking that away from anybody. But since this is discussion, you know, Bob has stated in the newspaper that he should return as president because being president is like a full-time job and he has cultivated relationships. And all that the charter says about the president is that the president shall preside at meetings and shall be recognized as head of the town government for all ceremonial purposes and by the governor for purposes of military law. Based on that requirement, you know, we are guided by the documents of the town. You know, whatever Bob's been doing full time all these years as president does not require him to have the title of president. He can continue doing what he's doing, utilize the relationships for the betterment of Middletown. The charter does require the president to preside over meetings. That's what it says. So I've observed the 2 years that I have been on the council that the meetings are too long still. The agendas are not very well coordinated and the docket's not fully vetted. I'm going to explain why. If the who and the what and the where and the when and why something's being presented with all the pros and cons laid out and the key positions and options presented, the counselors and the public would have all the information they need in the docket, barring what comes up at the meeting when we are sharing, but the meetings could then be much more transparent and expedient. Bob typically will place the department heads and members of the public at the end of the meeting. And often they're not heard because they have to leave to go to work the next day, or the meeting has to end by the established deadline. It's not good public service for the citizens, and it's not good use of Middletown staff that are in place to serve those citizens the next day. It's been very frustrating to watch. Bob may have cultivated relationships. We all have them. But what's most concerning are the very important town relationships that have been strained in his meetings and in his newspaper commentaries while he's been president and counselor. Besides many members of the public, the police department, the school committee, and the fire department. You can't deny it. It's a thing. It's just compounded in group after group during Bob's tenure, and it has divided Middletown. You know, Bob isn't going to change, and you can't do things the way they've always been and expect something different to happen. So the voting block is in place. Congratulations, everybody. You know, the issues that you all agree on, they'll pass. That's fine. It just has nothing to do with the president. And I nominated Paul for president. And I did last year as well. And it's not just the high vote counts. It's what that vote count means. Paul is well embraced by the community at large. And why is this so important right now? Middletown is in the middle of Rhode Island on pause. Middletown citizens and businesses are soon to be at their breaking point. Middletown, like every other community, will be waiting a very long time for the COVID vaccine. And most importantly, because Middletown is indeed divided. Middletown citizens need a reason to get excited again. Not just the ones who voted for the voting bloc, not just the ones who voted for the newcomers, all the citizens, everybody. This is an opportunity, this vote today, to energize Middletown, to inject some excitement into Middletown, to give Middletown some buzz and hope for a more unified community. It's an opportunity for Bob to be selfless and the counselors to send a message that you're thinking of Middletown and not just each other. Please consider the nominations carefully. Either Paul or Dennis, both are born and bred in Middletown. Both have time on the council, they have business backgrounds. Neither of them have a multitude of strained relationships. I'm just going to end by saying your vote today will set the tone Middletown lives in for the next 2 years. Please vote for a leadership that all of Middletown can embrace. Thank you.
Wendy.
Paul, you'd like to speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
All set? Mine's muted. All set? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Terry, I appreciate you nominating me second time in a row. You know, I'm going to say the same thing I said at the last time you nominated me. I'm humbled that you nominated me. It's just that my job and my position doesn't allow me to put the time that necessary. Well, I'd love to do it. I just can't do it at this point in time. And besides that, I think, you know, I respectfully disagree. I think Bob has done a really good job with leading the town. May not always agree. There's going to be bumps in the road, no matter who it is. But I think you need a leader that stands firm and won't back down. And, you know, life's about compromise. And at the end of the day, that's what we do. We do what we think is best for everybody as a whole. And I think we've done that. And again, there's bumps in the road no matter who it is. So again, I appreciate it. I could not accept that nomination. You know, while I love doing this for the town and the community, and you know, it's just that my family has to come first, and I couldn't devote that amount of time. So, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councilor-elect Welch.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I nominate Dennis, and the reason for it is I think it's time for a change from what I've seen on the outside, and obviously I haven't been privy to everything that goes on. I think past President Sylvia has his leadership has been a little strong, and I hear that from a lot of people in town, and I think it would be a good idea to change it up. Certainly he's got a lot of things that he's done and that he can continue to do. I agree with a lot with what Terry said. I think Dennis does the job quietly. I think he puts his time in. He's obviously a Middletown resident that's been here a long time and decided to get involved, and I would like to see him be the president. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Yeah, I think you said Flynn, and I'm sorry. I think Dennis had his hand up as well. I just wanted to clarify with Paul that it doesn't have the time to run the meetings and go to ceremonies, or if we go under martial law, to be that president. That's what's all that's required. We all do other things under the, council umbrella that we don't have to be president for. So I guess I'm just wondering what all this full-time stuff is. It's not required in the town documents. So I just don't know what the time exactly is being spent doing. And maybe that's something to discuss as well.
So Wendy, please. So Terry, I sat in that seat for 4 years and I did enjoy it. I had a little bit more freedom in my job at the time, so it allowed me to do that. There's a lot of prep that goes into when you're running that meeting. How embarrassing would it be when you're not on top of every single issue and privy to every single issue? I mean, there's constant communications in the backgrounds with the town administrator and the solicitors and phone calls back and forth, making sure that, you know exactly what you're talking about. You've got to be the most prepped person. I've sat on councils where people just weren't prepped. You could tell they came to the meetings, they haven't even opened up their manila envelope from when they received it. And by some of the questions they ask. When you're the president, you need to be on top of that. And my position currently doesn't allow me to do that. And I wouldn't accept something where I couldn't give and make sure I'm prepped and balance my work-life balance with my young son. If I couldn't give 100% and make sure I'm top of every single issue, do I read my docket? I read it probably clearer and more thorough than most. And that's not a knock on anybody. I want to be prepared, but when you're that president and you have to be on top of every motion and you have to be on top of every issue, it's a big difference. And I know until somebody sits in that seat, they don't realize that. So there's a bit of a learning curve at the beginning of that. I experienced it. I'm sure Bob experienced it. And I'm sure every council president before then experienced that. But I think it's just a smooth, seamless transition. And I think that at this particular time, again, my position, I don't have the freedom, having changed jobs in the past 3 or 4 years. I don't hold the same position that allows me that time and freedom to be able to put into the town. For me, it became to the point where it was affecting my job. Trying to balance my work life with my council president life at the time. And with a young child at that time, that's one of the reasons that I walked away from it at that time, because it became cumbersome to me. And so that's really the rationale. Again, until you sit in that chair, if you have that kind of freedom to do it, then and you're a good leader. Again, it's not always about the top votes. You've experienced that. I've experienced that plenty of times, gratefully. But it's about who's going to lead and who's going to bring people together. And I think having put this election, it was a difficult election for the majority of us. We need to put that behind us, every single one of us, and we need to move forward. That's what we need to do in the best interest of the town. And I think this would be a real good start. Thank you.
Can I respond?
Councilor-elect Toronto, would you like to speak?
I'll let Terry respond to that, if you let us respond to it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. So, and I, and that's information, I think, for the presidency. I certainly respect your position, Paul, and withdrawing the nomination. I wish you wouldn't, but, that gives us some insight on what the president's doing. And as I said, that, we aren't getting all of the who, what, where, when, and why, the pros and cons and options in our docket. And so we're spending a lot of fact finding in the meetings. So whether that's not being done or not being communicated, that's what needs to happen in the future, along with the, agenda focus on serving the public and consideration to the department heads. And I would be happy to listen to Dennis respond or input as well.
Counselor Flynn, are you withdrawing the nomination? Is that what you had just said?
Well, I thought Paul was requesting to do that. Is
I
that
would.
true?
Okay,
So,
Thank
so
you.
in
That's fine.
consideration to his wishes, I am going to withdraw that. I certainly respect his position and his priorities.
thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
No, thank you, Paul.
Counselor-elect Toronto?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. I want to thank Tom for the nomination. It definitely is an honor. I've thought about it. People have asked me about it. This last campaign cycle, I saw more involvement from the community than I saw in the 2 previous elections that I ran in. And there was a lot of open communication. I'd never seen so much back and forth in the newspaper in the previous years, really dividing the council, and at the end, everyone said, oh, that's an election. Let's just put it behind us and move forward. It's not going to happen that easily. I think that the citizens of Middletown have asked for change. That's just my opinion. Okay. I think that the last 2 years, our council has been divided. When I look at, our interaction as a council with different departments within the town, I see controversy. I see lack of communication. And that would be one thing that I would like to bring to as the town council president and leader of the town council. And that's what it is, the town council. And we're here to share the views of the residents who elected us to be in office. And those are the things that need to be prioritized in the docket. And those are the things that need to be worked on. There are things I asked for over the last 2 or 3 years that I never received until I got the president's backing on it. I just don't think that's right. I just think that there's change that has been asked for by the people of Middletown. They'd like to see us shake it up. In business, when the customers are asking for something, you got to take action. So I do believe I have the experience to be an effective town council president. I have over 30 years of experience. I've sat on many boards and been involved in many projects. And I basically, in the last 3-4 years that I've been on the council, I've learned a lot. And I do believe I can bring that unification back to Middletown. I grew up in Middletown. I was part of my father was a teacher in Middletown. My grandfather was a resident of Middletown. I was around the schools all the time, and the sports and the police and fire. And I just feel like we're not, as a community, internally locked together and everyone rowing in the same direction. I've said this, and I think that's something that would have a big impact on the community of Middletown. We have a lot of negative things affecting our town these days: the virus, tax increases, things along those lines, and just the national level. We need to have calmness, we need to have change, and we need to focus on several issues and get them done. We have 2 years. And if we don't change up the council and everyone doesn't start working together, we'll get nothing done in the next 2 years. So I'm asking for change. I'm asking for your vote. And I think I could do an effective job as president of the town council.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak? All right, well, I have a nomination for Dennis Toronto as council president. I will poll the council. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues,
No.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
No,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
Wendy has some background. I'm not sure if anybody caught that.
I am muted. Oh, I'm muted.
no, you're not muted, Paul. Can hear you.
No, now,
Now you are.
Now you are.
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
No,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
No,
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Yes.
That nomination has failed. We're moving on to the next nomination. I have a nomination for Robert Sylvia as council president. I will poll the council-elect. Council-elect Terry Flynn,
No,
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
yes,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
No.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
yes,
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
No.
Okay. The nomination has passed for Counselor-elect Robert Sylvia to be council president. We will now move on to entertain nominations for council vice president.
I nominate Dennis Torano for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Terry Flynn for vice president.
Madam Town Clerk, I'd like to nominate Paul Rodricks as vice chair.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. There are no further nominations. Nominations for this position are closed.
Conversation, please.
Yes.
Thank you. So thank you for the nomination, Tom. I think that Dennis, who was thought well enough to be nominated for president, is a very good consideration by all counselors. Paul has said he's busy and was unwilling to take the presidency. Dennis has the time for president. He certainly would have the time to be vice president. And once again, equally qualified with and would balance the town leadership. Again, both Paul and Dennis, born in Middletown, bred here, have had time on the council, business backgrounds. Both would be embraced by Middletowners. But I really feel like Paul, if he doesn't have the time for presidency, but Dennis does, Dennis is a tremendous choice and would balance out the leadership that Middletown can embrace and invigorate the buzz in this town for the leadership of town council. So I would encourage you again, or I would support Dennis and am supporting Dennis, and hence my nomination.
Madam Town Clerk, may I speak, please? It's Mrs. Santos.
Yes.
I'd like to correct Mrs. Flynn.
Oh.
There is not everybody on the council was born in Middletown. Only one is. Only one person on this council was born in Middletown.
I
No
stand
one else.
I stand duly semantically corrected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Counselor-elect Tom P. Welch.
I would just like to say that, given that Bob is president, I think here's our last chance to make some change. I think Terry has shown, obviously, in her vote total, which you can argue it's worth, but obviously it's the Middletown people speaking. And I think she has shown that she's got time to put into the job. She certainly does her homework. And I think it would be a good face for the council going forward to show that it's not going to be the same as it was the last number of years, because people are just going to change the channel. Let's show them that we listened and that we're willing to make a little change for the betterment of the town. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Okay. Having no one else that would like to speak, I have a nomination for Council Vice President of Dennis Toronto. I am going to poll the council. Councilor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
No,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
No,
Councilor-elect Dennis Toronto,
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara Von Villas,
No,
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Yes.
That nomination is not passed. We will move on to, I have a nomination for Councilor-elect Terry Flynn as Council Vice President. I will poll the council-elect. Council-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
no,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
no,
Councilor-elect Dennis Toronto,
I just want to say, I think Terry is very qualified for this position, and we're making a mistake by not voting her in. So I vote yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara Von Villas,
no,
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Yes.
Okay. I have a nomination for Paul M. Rodrick. Oh, motion fails. I have a nomination for Paul M. Rodrick as Council Vice President. I will poll the council-elect. Council-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
yes,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
yes,
Councilor-elect Dennis Toronto,
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villas,
yes,
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch III.
Yes.
That nomination has passed for Paul M. Rodrick. I would like to entertain nominations for town solicitor.
I would like to nominate Dana Harrell. And I'll save my comments for the conversation.
I'd like, Madam Clerk, I'd like to nominate Peter Regan.
I did not hear the nomination call.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the position of the nomination you're calling. I'm sorry.
Town solicitor?
Town solicitor.
Right,
Oh, I'm sorry. Your town solicitor?
yes,
Okay, I would like to withdraw my nomination. I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm looking at the list, Wendy, and I think that I didn't realize you weren't using this order that you sent in the email.
Great.
is. She's using the order that's on the email.
We changed it to go by the order of the agenda, I'm sorry. The agenda for the 7th.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did not realize that. Missed the memo.
Yeah, I guess she did.
So I would like to entertain nominations for town solicitor.
I nominate Peter Regan.
I thought I just did that a minute ago.
Oh, he did.
Are there any other nominations?
Sorry.
Okay, there being no further nominations for this position are closed.
Conversation? So Wendy, what are I know that there's criterias that are listed in the charter, and is there a criteria for the solicitor?
Let me get the charter and I will get the number for you to take a look at.
Sorry, I had time to, there was just so many positions. I was just wondering what our findings need to be for this position?
It's under section 607 of the town charter. Town solicitor shall be appointed by the town council at its first meeting following its election to serve for a term of 2 years or until another his or her successor is appointed. A person so appointed shall be a member of the Bar of the State of Rhode Island in good standing, but need not be a resident of Middletown. Town solicitor need not devote full time to the duties of the office. Town solicitor shall receive such compensation for services as may be determined by the council. Town solicitor shall be the attorney for the town and legal advisor to the council, town administrator, and all other offices, departments, and agencies of the town. The town solicitor shall appear for and protect the rights of all the town in the actions, suits, or proceedings, civil or criminal, brought by or against it against any of its officers, departments, or agencies, and shall perform such other duties as the council may require. All written legal opinions furnished to the council and to all town officers, departments, or agencies shall be filed with the town clerk and become a public record. The town solicitor shall examine and approve the forms of all ordinances and resolutions and the forms of all invitations of bids, contracts, and other legal documents sent out by any office, department, or agency of the town.
Madam Clerk, may I speak?
Yes,
These are the same requirements that were 2 years ago when you were voted into office, Ms. Flynn, and they have not changed. So why are you questioning these now? They are this, it's the same charter, it's the same requirements. It has not changed.
Yes, well, you're absolutely right, Mrs. Santos. And what I didn't know then, having been newly elected, is that how making nominations, which each counselor has the ability to do, how it's especially challenging in Middletown, because the counselors elect have to make nominations of candidates that are qualified per the charter. And yet there's no established mechanism for candidate outreach for either counselors elect or town administrators to ensure these qualifications. It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. I have to wonder that how did the first attorneys and judges ever get nominated for their positions? Because there's no way to confirm those qualifications or to outreach for them. That might be something, you know, to talk about as a charter clarification. So, you know, again, it's nothing personal to anybody nominated, but I may not know them or have nothing in front of me that speaks to the required qualifications or professional experience. And so, you know, it may be just a matter of documentation to support certain nominations. And, you know, so, and again, the series of qualifications, it seems, if I listened correctly, Wendy, was that it's just a member of the bar. Is that the qualification for solicitor? And so and of course, another qualification would of course be that, you know, no nomination would bring any embarrassment to the town. So for today, I don't know if we, like, how do you clarify that someone is a member of the bar in good standing? How does that work?
Council-elect Sylvia.
Madam Clerk, I thought that this was all sent out again this year to everybody, referencing people to take a look at the charter. But in regards to Mr. Regan, who I nominated, Mr. Regan's been, he's a graduate of Boston College Law School in 1985. He's acted as our town solicitor from 2014 to present. He was our municipal court judge from 1994 to 2004. He was our probate judge from 2006, 2086 to 2094. He's been our assistant town solicitor, and he's also served as our criminal prosecutor. This man is more than and overly qualified for this position. So if Councilor Flynn wants to see some certified documentation on his credentials, I mean, that's up to her to seek that out. But we have a gentleman that we ought to be very thankful that we have sitting in that solicitor seat. It was a big seat for him to fill when he took it over from Mike Miller, who sat there for a number of years and represented the town with integrity and honor. And so hasn't Peter Regan. So whatever emails that we receive from people in regards to him, or whatever, wherever you're going with this, Councilor Flynn, he is certainly more than qualified for that position.
Counselor Flynn.
Thank you. And thank you for filling in some of those blanks on his professional experience, Bob. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's nothing personal to anybody nominated, but really and again, this might be something to talk about as a charter clarification or expansion. The only thing that the charter says is that they have to be a member of the bar. So to support a nomination, that's just a documentation that I would request of all the nominations for today's vote. So if I don't have it today, I'm not going to support the nomination because apparently the experience doesn't really matter. If I get it by Monday, happy to support the nomination.
Counselor-elect Rodrick.
You're muted, Paul.
Still muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Still.
I don't know. I'm a farmer, guys. I'm sorry. I'm technologically challenged, sorry. So, I appreciate the back and forth, and probably everyone would have a better understanding what the criteria is for the nomination. But at the end of the day, I do think that experience, and I don't think you meant it this way, Terry, but I do think experience does matter. When you have any type of administration, you want it to be as seamless as possible with the person with the most experience. Like when we hire somebody and Sean brings us somebody, we want that most qualified person, and hopefully they live in Middletown, right? But you want the most qualified person. And I think that, obviously we have one nomination, and, I think Peter's done a really, really good job. Well, I always don't agree with what his opinion is. He's a solicitor, and he's done it for years, and he's done it well. And I think he's kept a very calm demeanor about himself and at council meetings that I've observed. And again, don't always agree with him with his opinion, but it's his job to give us that opinion, and then we can take it for what it's worth on our own, as our own perception. So I think experience does matter. And again, I don't think you meant it like that. I think it just came out like that. And I think he has the experience to do the job.
Counselor-elect Flynn.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Paul, you're absolutely right. That it didn't come out in the way that it should have. What I was, and you as having served on the zoning board will appreciate this, it's the findings per the documentations that you have to adhere to. And this is where, we should work on some of these requirements potentially. The only finding for solicitor is that they're a member of the bar. So I just need that proof. And I can support. Do you follow that? Is that better? Okay, you're still muted.
You need to unmute.
Yes.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak?
I have a question.
Yes.
So all of the positions that are coming up today on this 2-year interval, are they advertised anywhere? I mean, how would anybody know to apply for the job?
We do not advertise for those positions. That is the council-elect to seek out. people for these positions?
Okay.
Counselor-elect Flynn?
So you said it was for the counselors to seek out for these
Yes.
positions? I was
Administration
directed
has to
not to
seek
do
out.
that. Or is there a certain procedure? That's really not for this meeting. I think that's something, again, I think that the charter hasn't really been looked at in this regard, and maybe it's something we need to look at to make it clear and get the criteria set.
Counselor-elect Sylvia?
I think there was an email sent out. I'm not sure if Councilor-elect Welch was on it. I don't know if he was on the town council email at the time. But I think in a response to Councilor Flynn, I said that councilors generally, and this has been going back for decades, if they want to recommend somebody for a position, that they make that nomination and recommendation with any supporting information that they need. So if Mr. Welch wasn't on it, I'm not sure if he was on the town council email then. I don't know if he's on it now, but that email, Tom, was sent out.
Counselor-elect Toronto?
Thank you, Wendy. I gotta say, there were a flurry of emails going back and forth between the solicitor, the town administrator, and a couple council people in this area this week. And I think, again, it's probably not the time to talk about it, but I thought it was pretty clearly stated by the town administrator that a town councilor cannot go out and solicit somebody to run or throw their hat in the ring. It was stated pretty clearly in an email. Does Sean want to comment on that?
I can. The email that I was responding to was one that was sent out by Councilor Flynn. It was sent out to her, what I believe is her contact list for a list that she maintains. But essentially, it wasn't necessarily, it was a solicitation for proposals. She had detailed a procedure of submitting those, that they would be guaranteed to be on the docket. She would get them on the docket. It was different than a counselor. So for instance, just bringing, the way the charter reads is that counselors bring nominations to the meeting. But what Councilor Flynn's email reads as is more of a solicitation, which is different. It's just a different animal, and I believe that it would create liability the way it was done.
Madam Clerk, if I might follow up on that.
Yes.
So there's, just to follow up and further clarify what Sean said and what was said in emails, there's nothing that would prohibit a council person from reaching out to someone that they thought might be a good candidate for a particular position, talking to them, finding out whether they had any interest in that, and then nominating for them for that particular position. What Sean was referring to in the email was a general solicitation or request for proposals which, if the council decided they wanted to follow that procedure, they could do that, but it's something that the council as a whole would authorize rather than one councilor acting unilaterally. But there's nothing that would prohibit a council person from contacting somebody that they thought might be a good candidate for a particular position to determine whether they'd be interested in and then making a decision to nominate them. And there's nothing also that would prohibit someone who might be interested in one of these positions from reaching out to a town council person and asking that they nominate them as well.
Counselor-elect Flynn?
Thank you, Wendy. So just to clarify, Sean, you misread the email because it said to submit information that might be included in the docket and to make sure that it was appropriate. The instructions were to send to me or to all the counselors, and it was to a list, but a very specific list, because as we've been going through COVID, many people in the legal industry have, courthouses have been closed, they've been out of work. People have reduced their commitment. If they're, close to the senior ages like myself, they've readjusted their hours or client base. And so it did go to people who had inquired specifically about the positions, or in our conversation, next step in council, this leadership meeting, then inauguration. So Peter, just to clarify, is that something that instead of sending to a half a dozen people in one email, I would have to make a half a dozen calls to let them know?
Well, Councilor-elect Flynn, I don't know how many people you sent it to, whether it was a half dozen or several dozen. So what I was suggesting is if there was a solicitation going out requesting proposals and essentially applications for all of these positions, and directing people to send their resumes and other information into the town administration, if you're setting up that sort of a process, that ought to be authorized by the council as a whole,
Okay.
so that everyone's operating on the same page.
Thank you.
Counselor-elect Toronto.
Thank you, Wendy. So I'm just going to put it out there that anyone who's asked me about this, I mean, there's conversations, in Newport about how people get elected to different positions, and should it be just the council that makes that decision? How does the ballot stack up? I mean, these are questions that have come popping up that people say, scratching their head saying, now, why wouldn't you advertise for those positions? And what I've heard so far is this is the way it's been done for decades. But I got to be honest, everyone I explained to them when they ask me how this works scratches their heads and says, how does anyone know that opening's available? I mean, how do you go on for decades and not make that change? So maybe that's something, as you said, we have to make a change in the charter, because the thing with the charter, which needs to be a little cleaner, is the charter says whatever the person reading it wants it to say in a lot of ways. Okay, so you can read it one way or the other. So thank goodness we have lawyers. So just those are the types of things that I think as a council, we need to step up and address and make sure it's fair, that the people know how things operate on a town council level, and that everyone has a fair shake at getting that job opportunity. So I just wanted to add that. Talk to your local residents and explain to them how this works, and I guarantee you they're going to say, what do you mean you don't advertise it?
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, I have a nomination for Peter Regan as town solicitor. I will poll the council-elect. Councilor-elect Terry Flynn.
No, until I get the proof of membership in the bar, what's required by the charter.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrick.
Yes.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Dennis Toronto.
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara Avon Villas.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Thomas T. Welch III.
Yes.
Peter Regan has been nominated and appointed as town solicitor. I would like to entertain nominations for assistant town solicitors.
Okay.
Councilor Sylvia.
I'd like to nominate our current assistant town solicitors, Richard Thayer, Adam Thayer, and Christopher McNally, who are seasoned solicitors, who have not only sat as solicitors, Richard is filled in as, I believe he filled in as prosecution on a couple occasions. He has probably 40 years of experience as an attorney, and he's very well thought about throughout the state. They're in the same law office as our solicitor, Peter Regan. So it makes it very easy for them to work together and to confer on issues that the town needs to address in a timely fashion.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, there being no further nominations, nominations for the positions are closed.
Conversation.
Okay,
Thank you, Wendy. I actually jumped into Clerk Base really fast, and I did not see any criteria for assistant town solicitor. I was fast. Did I miss it, or do we not have criteria that needs to be met for that position?
there is nothing in the charter for that position.
Okay.
Any other conversation? I have nominations for Richard Sayer, Adam Thayer, Christopher McNally as assistant town solicitors. I will poll Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Roderick,
Yes.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Robert G. Sylvia,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara Von Willis,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Thomas C. Welch III.
Yes, and Wendy, Tom Welch is fine.
Okay, thank you.
I kind of like the third.
Yeah, gonna get old.
Okay, I would like to entertain nominations for Assistant Town Solicitor for Prosecution.
I would like to nominate Anthony Passari. Anthony Passari is, I'm sorry. Anthony Passari is best known to most of us as Middletown's retired chief of police. What most people don't know is that he earned his law degree at the New England School of Law, that he served as the dean of the School of Justice at Roger Williams University, and that he now works as an attorney at Ball Law Associates. I can't think of anyone I could recommend more highly. Therefore, I nominate Anthony Passari for the position of Assistant Town Solicitor of Prosecution for Middletown.
Madam Clerk, do we need a second on that? Or are you looking for other
No,
nominations?
I was looking for other nominations.
Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? There being no further nominations, nominations for this position are closed.
Conversation.
Yes,
Same question, Wendy. What are the criteria? I didn't see it in my quick glance into the charter
there
for,
is nothing in the charter.
there are no qualifications.
Wendy, just to follow up on that, most of these positions fall under the umbrella of the town solicitor. So we would assume that the same criteria, being a member in good standing of the bar, would apply to all of these positions.
Thank you. Yes,
So I voted in favor of the assistant town solicitor grouping because there were no criteria. Because had we been told that they needed to show that they were a member of the bar, I would need that evidence.
Well, I think frankly, it's a given, because if they're practicing law without a license, they're violating the law, and it's a criminal violation. So, but just.
And attorneys do that. I'm sure none of these do. I'm just saying that, you know, by the documents that we use to make decisions. So I'm gonna go with there's no criteria right now because it's not spelled out.
okay, any other conversation? All right, I have a nomination for Anthony Passari as Assistant Town Solicitor for Prosecution. I will poll the Council-elect. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Roderick,
Yes.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
I'm gonna have to talk to that chief about retirement, what that's supposed to mean, but yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Willis,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, so Anthony Pizzari for Assistant Town Solicitor for Prosecution. I would like to entertain nominations for probate judge. Any? Counselor Lewis?
I'd like to nominate our current probate judge, Mike Miller, who has had long-standing, as our solicitor, assistant solicitor, and as our probate judge. He's highly admired and respected throughout the state. And our probate court is recognized as one of the premier probate courts in the state of Rhode Island because of him. So I'd like to enter his name into nomination.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, there being no further nominations for this position are closed?
Conversation?
Yes.
The probate judge requirements in the charter is that they are a member of the bar. They don't have to be a resident of Middletown. And that's it, a member of the bar. Do I have that right, Wendy?
Correct.
Okay, and again, we don't have any, resumes or experience. I understand that, they've held a position, so without documentation in front of me, but again, it's that proof of that they're a member of the bar. By right, I would need to have that to support the nomination. If I can get that before Monday, I can support it on Monday, unless you have it, to email to me now.
Any other conversation? I have a nomination for Mike Miller as probate judge.
Not on.
I will poll Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
No.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues,
Yes.
Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Billis,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch,
Yes.
Mike Miller as probate judge. I would like to entertain nominations for assistant probate judge.
Madam Clerk, at this time, I would like to nominate Barbara Barrow as Assistant Probate Judge.
Madam Clerk, I would like to nominate Adrian Ventura for Assistant Probate Judge.
Are there any other nominations? No further nominations. Nominations for this position are closed.
Conversation?
Yes.
The council did receive documentation for Ms. Ventura, and it does have a copy of her Bar Association card. And what I wanted to ask the council, back in August, this is COVID time, and the council added an additional assistant municipal judge. I don't know if anybody remembers that. And I didn't know if that was something that if we wanted to get an additional level down because of the reason that we're in the state of emergency right now. And, while we have additional nominees, if they qualify, did we want to have extra assistance for municipal and probate judges? So I just wanted to put that in the conversation.
Counselor-elect Sylvia?
I think we should. I think we should have an extra alternate, and I would support nominating both of them for that position. Because of COVID, and COVID has been a trying time, obviously, and a very time-consuming time for a lot of us. But we do need the flexibility and availability. In fact, back in August, when I motioned the council for an additional municipal court judge, it was for that reason. So we'd have in place already a mechanism if we needed somebody else. So I would definitely support both of them.
Any other conversation? Okay, so I am going to, normally we take the first. Are you expecting that you want me to do them together as nominating together? Yes?
Madam Clerk, I would suggest that unless my colleagues have any reasons they would rather not, I would just do it together. I'd make one motion and do it together, to do both of them. Because if we do one, then we already have in place, unless we change our mind and say, we're gonna now have two of them in that position, like we did as a council. Don't forget, Council Flynn, we're sitting today as a council-elect. There's a big difference. We don't have the authority in making decisions like that until we sit as a council. Now, in the past, we did it with the probate, so we have openings with the probate. But other from that, it's, I think we should probably just, unless we want to change the nomination, I think we could do it. Unless, Peter, you see a reason why we can't do it. But other from that, we'd have to make an entire motion to put a new mechanism in to handle that second position.
Yeah, I just think you want to clarify what it is you're, certainly the council, as was done with the municipal court judge having an additional alternate, has got the authority to appoint an additional alternate for this position. You want to clarify, are we just have two alternates of the same level, or do we have a first alternate and a second alternate? But I don't want to overly complicate things, but
I think we already have.
I think you're right.
Sorry.
Councilor-elect Flynn?
Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, both. So to be consistent, I would be unable without the proof of, I think it's qualified member of the bar for the assistant probate, not be able to vote for the first nomination. And I could vote for Ms. Ventura because I have that proof of membership. So I don't know how that will work out in the, if we do another nomination round for another assistant probate judge.
Councilor-elect Sylvia?
Why don't we just do the vote as two? And then once Council Flynn can officially wait till Monday night to ratify her position on the second person, if both of the people pass now, we can move this along.
I'm not sure I exactly understood the
In other
step.
words, Council Flynn, today you're not going to support one of them because you don't have the documentation.
Right,
You're right, okay? But Monday night, upon receipt of that documentation, you could support both of them, correct?
yes.
Okay, so there we are. We're there. I think we should do them both now.
Okay, I see. So I would vote no and then yes on Monday.
There you go.
For one vote. Got it.
Councilor-elect
Thank you.
Rogers? You need to unmute yourself.
Okay, so I'm not opposed to either one. I think there should always be some type of hierarchy. So it's done fairly when there's a conflict. So how do you know who to pick if, in the past, there was always the assistant. And then as we went along and the assistant and the probate had a conflict, we appointed as a sitting council a second alternate, so to speak, without that title, because there was a conflict. How do you know who the primary assistant is and who isn't? I think that should be clear. I really do.
Any more conversation? Councilor-elect Sylvia?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with that. I think it's fair to them to know too that they, what position that they sit in and who gets called on. And there should be a sequence of how they get called. I agree with that.
Councilor-elect Flynn?
So could that be embraced in the nomination or the vote that we are doing?
The first one nominated was Barbara Barrow. That's the first one we will vote on.
Okay. So that would be the first assistant and then the second one would be the second assistant?
That's how I would see it.
I'm
Do
okay
you
with that.
agree,
Seems
Peter, do you agree?
Sure.
Okay. All right, if we're all set, I will poll the council-elect for a nomination for Barbara Barrow as Assistant Probate Judge. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
No.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
Yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
yes,
Counselor-elect Thomas Welch.
Yes,
Okay. A nomination as Assistant Probate Judge for Adrian Ventura. I will poll the council-elect. Counselor-elect Terry Flynn,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Paul M. Rodrick, Counselor-elect M. Teresa Santos,
no,
Counselor-elect Robert J. Sylvia,
yes,
Counselor-elect Dennis Torano,
Yes.
Counselor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis,
yes,
Counselor-elect Thomas P. Welch.
yes,
So we have Barbara Barrow and Adrian Ventura as Assistant Probate Judges. I would like to entertain nominations for Municipal Court Judge.
I'd like to nominate Dana Harrell. I forwarded her email and her letter that she had sent to me in respect for us to consider her for the position of municipal court judge. I thought she was, I'm not sure if you folks had a chance to read through her resume and what she brings to the town, but it's very, very impressive. She has a degree from Salve Regina, a master's degree from Salve Regina, and she's also a doctorate from Roger Williams School. She has extensive experience statewide, 21 years of 21 consecutive years doing law in Mass, in Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Again, she's in good standings. She practices regularly in district and superior court, representing criminals proceedings along those lines. She has done a lot in the Rhode Island traffic tribunal and municipal court and local cities. In fact, even in Middletown itself. She does live here in Middletown for over 16 years. She's been on Aquidneck Island for 28 years. She has a few children in the Middletown school system. And one of the things when I talked with her, I didn't realize is that, she points out in the letter is that she feels that being appointed would increase the public's trust and confidence if we could diversify, maybe having women on the actual council as a judge in the town as well. And I think that's fair. As an observation, we don't have any women who are serving as judges, in Middletown. So I think we should take that into consideration. I had a very good conversation with her, and I would like to nominate her for the position of municipal court judge.
Well, you're muted.
Boy, Tom, you would think it was my first Zoom meeting, right?
Mhm. You're
So,
consistent.
I apologize, everyone. I'd like to nominate Francis Holbrook, and I would like to just enlighten everyone as to his resume. Frank is a Middletown High School graduate in 1977. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Rhode Island in political science in 1981 and a master's degree of public administration in 1982. He attended Western New England School of Law with a Juris Doctorate in 1985, graduated there. He is a member of the Rhode Island Bar and the Connecticut Bar Association, 85 and 86. He is admitted in all state and federal courts, Rhode Island and Connecticut. He has had in a private practice for 35 years with Miller, Scott, Holbrook, and Jackson. He has been the assistant. This is a very impressive part for this position. He's been the assistant town solicitor / town of Middletown police prosecutor the past 26 years, since 1994. He's been through 3 police chiefs, never had one complaint from any of those police chiefs, police departments, or police chiefs rather. He was the Middletown Town Solicitor from 2006 to 2008. He is the Justice of all Peace Bail Commissioners in 6 police departments in Newport County from 2010 to the present. So, and having said that, and lastly, and it's important for me anyway, is that he's been in Middletown for basically his entire life. Not the end all, but certainly important based with all, combined with all the other high qualifications that he carries. So I nominate Frank Holbrook.
Are there any other nominations? There being no further nominations, nominations for the position are closed.
Conversation?
Yes.
Same question, just to clarify, for the additional assistant for the municipal court. Oh, I guess that would be with the assistants. Excuse me, I'm jumping the gun. So this is just the judge, the primary judge. I
Correct.
retract my comments and request for conversation unless someone would like to talk.
Are we all set? I have a nomination for Dana Harrell as municipal court judge. I will call the council-elect. Councilor-elect Terry Flynn.
Again, I would need proof of the member in good standing. I have the resume for the 5 years, but I have to say no right now.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues.
No.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
No,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
No,
Councilor-elect Dennis Torano.
Yes, and Terry, I did check into that, and she is in good standing, so I just want to make you aware of that. I'm
Oh,
sorry I didn't mention
Thank you.
that, but yes, I vote for her.
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis.
No,
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch.
No,
Okay, a nomination for Francis Holbrook as municipal court judge. I will poll the council-elect. Councilor-elect Terry Flynn.
No, again, lack of evidence for today. Monday could be different. Thank you.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues.
Yes.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
yes,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
yes,
Councilor-elect Dennis Torano.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis.
yes,
Councilor-elect Thomas Welch.
yes,
Okay, we have Francis Holbrook as municipal court judge. I would like to entertain nominations for assistant municipal court judge.
I would like to nominate Dana Harrell.
Are there any other nominations? Councilor-elect Rodrigues.
I'd like to nominate 2 because I think we should do the same thing as we did with the probate judge so that we have a first alternate and a second alternate. So I'd like to nominate Robert Silva and Kevin Hagan.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, there being no further nominations, nominations for the position are closed.
Conversation.
Yes,
So this is confirmation that we are going to, the council agrees that we should have an additional assistant.
we have that now.
An addition, okay. Well, wouldn't that have expired, at the election?
No,
Okay, so we're gonna fill 2. Okay.
it was a
Anyone else
council
like-
decision. It was a council decision, Council Flynn. So it's
So-
information to the council as a body changes it
So permanently? I
right now,
didn't realize that.
right now.
Okay.
Would anyone else like to speak? Councilor-elect Welch.
probably a dumb question, but to add additional people like this by a vote, doesn't it matter how much money it costs? Or does it?
They get paid by per diem, Tom. If there's a necessity for them, then you're paying somebody or you're paying somebody to fill in for them. So they get paid the per diem. There's no additional per se cost.
Understood, thank you.
Any other conversation? I have a nomination for Dana Harrell as Assistant Municipal Court Judge, I will poll Council-elect. Council-elect Terry Flynn.
Again, no documentation at this point in time, no.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues.
No.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
No,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
No,
Councilor-elect Dennis Torano.
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis.
no,
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, that motion failed. So I have a nomination for Robert Sylvia and Kevin Hagan.
Silva.
Silva. I just made you a judge.
Councilor Flynn would challenge my credentials for that.
Okay, Robert Silva and Kevin Hagan. I will poll the council-elect. Councilor-elect Terry Flynn.
Could I clarify which is in first position and which is in second? Or does it matter right now?
In the order.
In
In
the
the
order.
order. And again, I have no documentation, so I have to say no.
Okay. Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues.
Yes.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
yes,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Dennis Torano.
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis.
Yes,
Councilor-elect Thomas Welch.
No.
Okay, we have Robert Silva and Kevin Hagan as Assistant Municipal Court Judges. There being no further business today, I will.
Madam Clerk, may I have something clarified, please?
Yes,
In regards to the probate judge, I will have the paperwork from Ms. Barrows. And I would also like to take back my vote, rescind my vote, and vote for Ms. Ventura. Is that possible?
Councilor Santos, I
Yes,
think that we could probably do that Monday night when it's finalized, right?
all
right.
right, fine, will do, rather than take up any more time of everybody. Thank you, Mr.
Question? Didn't they both pass? Didn't they both
Yeah.
get approved?
They did. They both
They did.
were approved.
Just checking. Thought I missed something.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
My three favorite words, motion to adjourn.
May I have a second? I
Second,
will poll the council-elect. Council-elect Terry Flynn.
Yes.
Councilor-elect Paul M. Rodrigues.
Yes.
Councilor-elect M. Teresa Santos.
yes,
Councilor-elect Robert J. Sylvia.
yes.
Councilor-elect Dennis Torano.
Yes.
Councilor-elect Barbara A. Von Villis.
yes.
Councilor-elect Thomas P. Welch.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all.
See you all Monday night.
Have
Thanks,
a good
Wendy.
weekend.
Thank you, Wendy.